We are in trying times that test our faith and the well-being of our society. With COVID-19 still roaring loud, we now face a new tragedy that further divides us as a nation and as a human race. Amongst violent rioters and looters, most people are being silenced for voicing a moral and Christian-based opinion about the current events. Our law enforcement is being threatened, forced to quit their jobs, and forced to take sides. With the recent events, this nation is under attack by the enemy, and the enemy is hiding behind racism. The enemy wants division. Satan will not win if we are united as a nation and as a people of repentance. Tune in to this episode as Brandon and Matthew talk about these issues at hand.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. Please, let me explain. 1, it is free. 2, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from the phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many others. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So please, download the free Anchor app and go to anchor.fm and get started today.
The Ear, Evangelical and Reformed Christian Podcast. Welcome to The Ear, the Evangelical and Reformed, a Christian podcast that urges you to think deeper and draws you closer to God through faith. Through powerful sermons, teaching segments, and discussions, The Ear hopes to give you a different perspective on secular topics from a Christian worldview. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Please welcome your host, Brandon Queen.
Well. Good afternoon, podcast world. I'm sorry about the late post. This was a last-minute idea that my buddy and I had, but I can't go any further because my podcast has been hijacked.
Yeah, today we are switching up roles a bit. Welcome, everybody. My name is Pastor Matthew Everhard. I'm the pastor of Gospel Fellowship, PCA, here north of Pittsburgh. Bible-believing church. We love Jesus. We're on a mission to share the good news of the gospel with the world. And today we are switching it up because I'm going to be doing the interview. If you're listening to the podcast, The Ear, this is your normal podcast host, Brandon Queen, the podcast king that I'm talking to today. But we're switching it up, and I'm going to be the interviewer. And Brandon, you're going to be the interviewee. How's that sound?
Weird.
Yeah, Brandon and I, we've done a lot together over the years. We've known each other for several years, used to be together in the same denomination, the EPC. So today I'm in the PCA, but we've done all kinds of projects together, writing projects, podcasting projects, and this is going to be an awesome conversation. Now, what my subscribers to my YouTube channel may not know is that you, my friend, are both Black and you are a police officer. And most importantly, of course, you are Christian. So that puts you in a really special position to help us to interpret some of the events that are happening right now, because the world has changed so much and so quickly since the last time that you and I spoke. And I thought, and apparently you thought it was a good idea, that we could do kind of a co-promote an episode that would both go on your podcast, The Ear, as well as hopefully my YouTube channel. And so if you're watching this on YouTube, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link to Brandon Queen's awesome podcast, The Ear, which stands for Evangelical and Reformed. Great podcast, lots of cool seasons Brandon has done. I've been a guest many times, for which I am thankful. But Brandon, I have to tell you, as we start the interview here, when I saw some of the things that were happening on my television set the last week, I was shocked, as most people were. And I have to tell you, you were on my short list of people that I immediately began to pray for and to think about because you're an officer and because you are also Black, one of my wonderful friends, and that makes you unique. So I wanted to just start off with a couple of questions here. I'm assuming that you saw the video of George Floyd's death, his wrongful death, which was so shocking and appalling to most people. What were some of your initial thoughts when you saw what was happening on your phone or your television screen?
Well, first thing first, I was late to the party. I don't watch the news these days because all you see is negativity on there. But my coworkers informed me of what happened and told me what happened. And my initial thought was, I am not watching it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be a part of the conversation. And then one of my coworkers, who happens to be Black, was like, no, Brandon, you really need to watch it. I think you would probably agree with most of the world. And I'm like, oh, that's scary. So I went ahead and watched the video. Now, granted, the media does not do a good job at giving you all of the facts. They only give you what they want you to see. And I think that entices wars, riots, civil movements that don't need to be started. However, when I saw the video, I thought it was despicable. It was disgusting to watch, to see brothers in blue act in such a manner that is barbaric and just downright sinful. I'm not giving these cops any support at what they did. Everything they did was against, I would say, general common sense and general police policy. So they don't deserve my respect. They don't deserve my support in this. What they did was wrong. They allowed a man to die in their hands without rendering any type of aid or adhering to anything he said. So that's how I feel about that. Those cops, if I can be frank, were stupid. If I can be frank.
Yeah. Strong words. I want you to I'm going to ask you this question from two different perspectives, and I don't even know if it's really possible for you to kind of think of yourself in these two different ways right now, because obviously you're one person, and you can't split yourself in half here. But first of all, let me ask you this question from the perspective of a Black man. So that's your identity, right? That's your ethnicity, your background. You can't change that about yourself. That's who you are. I can't change myself. We come into the world as God made us, right?
Right.
So respond to the video as a person of color. How did it make you feel to see what transpired in front of you on your screen?
Am I allowed to really use my language? Okay, here we go. How I felt when I watched the video. Pissed off, angry, and I kept asking myself this question. Why? We're going through a pandemic. Almost everybody hates the president. Nobody wants to cooperate and hold all parties accountable in the government. We have enough on our plate. Why is this happening now? Okay, and the simple fact that I am a Black man, watching another Black man be subdued by an Asian and a couple of white guys, it's like, okay, wait a minute, hold up. Why? What did he do that was so wrong to warrant them to have him on the ground in that position, to where his stomach could barely rise for him to breathe? What the heck are they doing? Okay. Now, most would say, well, you're a cop. How can you say that? You're supposed to be supporting the cop. No, I'm not going to support wrongdoing. Maybe because I'm a Christian, one. And two, it's wrong. Okay, you can't sit there and say, well, he gave a fake $20 bill. Okay, it's a $20 bill. You don't have to get that hostile over a counterfeit bill. Yes, I know it was a federal offense. Yes, I know it's still wrong. However, that could have been handled differently. Okay, Matt, if I came to the store and I was a Black cop and you walked in with a fake $20 bill, all right, the difference between you and a person of color is a person of color, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for saying this, a person of color will automatically assume they're being harassed by the cops. Okay? So I get the outrage. But as a black man watching this, I am ticked off at how it all happened. It shouldn't have happened in that manner. It shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, if you can do this, and I don't know, again, I don't know if it's possible for you to split yourself this way, but but you're also a police officer. So given that you're a police officer, do you have any perspective on the situation that maybe a civilian wouldn't see? We see this, and I guess, I'm not trained as a police officer myself, so I'm not sure how exactly to subdue and to handcuff another person. That's not something that I've been trained to do. Does your training as a police officer help you to see this video in a different way than maybe the rest of us civilians do? What's your take as a law officer on maybe even the physical positioning of the arrest?
Okay, that is a hard question. All right, and it's a lot. So what I will say is, number one, first and foremost, I should never have to take sides, ever. Okay, I am a detective, and I chose that profession, and we will get to that later on why I chose to be in law enforcement. We'll get to that later. However, when I approach a person and they are either going to be detained, and being detained does not mean you're being arrested. You being detained is a way for the cop to ensure their safety and your safety. Okay? Because, for example, let's say you were black, Matt, and I'm white, and I approached you and you are hostile. You broke the law. You clearly broke the law. You're not wanting to cooperate with me. I'm trying to de-escalate the situation, and you just keep putting your hands in your pocket. You don't want to listen. And all of a sudden you pull out a gun and you shoot and kill me and then run off. So being detained is a way of ensuring both parties' safety. So let's get that out of the picture. All right. 2, when you are subduing someone, sometimes that's a fight. All right. Now, when you look at Mr. Floyd, he was a rather large guy, very very muscular in his build. Okay. So if the cop himself is not well trained or not well built or can handle something bigger than themselves, then it would take more than one officer to subdue the person. Okay. So keep in mind, when a cop comes in, when police officers arrive at a scene in the masses, it's not just to harass a person. It is to ensure everybody's safety. With that being said, 4 people or 3 people holding down one man was a little obsessive. I mean, they had him in handcuffs. They could have handled it differently. I will say that. Okay. Now, what was the other part of that question? Because I kind of went off on a rampage.
Well, I guess, maybe as somebody who's not trained myself, I look at that and it seems to me like the next step in the arrest would be, okay, so he appears to be handcuffed from what I can tell. Wouldn't the next step to be to get him into the car? What are the right procedures once you have a person subdued and cuffed? What should the next goal be? Am I wrong there?
No,
that
you're
putting
absolutely.
him in the car would be right?
You are right. From what I'm told, and I haven't checked the facts on this, so don't quote me on this if you're listening in. From what I'm told, he was already in the car and they took him back out. Okay. Now, I did hear him say he's claustrophobic in one of the clips of the video or whatever. But still, if you broke the law, you got to go to jail, take your lick, go to jail, and move on with your life. But apparently he was in the car already and they pulled him back out. I guess because he was kicking the window, cutting up. I don't know. I wasn't there to actually know what happened. But the next step would be to put him in the car. And if they refuse to get in the car, I like to talk to people. It takes a lot for me to become the jerk of a cop that most people think all cops are in America. I like to talk to people as if they are human and give them the benefit of doubt that they're going to adhere to what I'm trying to accomplish. But that's just me. I can't speak for those officers. I can only speak for what I would do. Now, if the person
Okay.
was combative and